doing today, everyone? I just want to let you know my book is out and available on Amazon and Barnes& and Noble. The name is Parents, Our Greatest Teachers. And now, back to our episode. Hello, everyone. This is your host, Alex Valgood, and this is Leap of Health. And today, I'm so excited. We have Shelley. She's the owner of Positive Spirit Company. She hosts the Positive Spirit podcast. And she's also the author of When Animals Speak, the true stories and spiritual messages from the animal kingdom, that is going to be releasing on Amazon on April 26th. So we are super excited. Anyone that it's all into spiritual and animals and all these stories, go ahead and grab her book after April 26th. And it's going to be available on Amazon. Awesome. Thank you, Shelley, for being here today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and so excited. I've been looking forward to our conversation all week.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know we're going to be talking about meditation and how that connects with nature and all that. But before, for all of our audience that don't know everything that you do, tell us a little bit about your story.
Oh, thank you. So, I actually grew up in a village in that's nestled in the mountains of Pennsylvania. And it's so small that there's not even a stoplight where I grew up.
Ah,
And that kind of lent to when you're little, you spend time outside. That's your playground. So we slept in the grass under the stars and built forts in the woods. And you know that is we caught fish and crayfish in the little creek. And it was a really beautiful little community that we had. And that kind of started my connection to nature. And that really solidified how I started to realize the healing properties of being outside and moving your body outside and being quiet in that space. And I've kind of carried that with me throughout my life. And I use meditation and moving, and I work with the elements of water and air. And I call that in when I do Reiki, because I am certified to teach Reiki and work with animals and humans. So I bring a lot of the natural world and crystals and all of those things into my healing practice, my work with people. And it's just been an incredible full circle journey for my life to step into this full time now.
that is amazing. I love that you touch on how, you used to play outside and connect with nature. I feel like we need to go back to our roots, especially
Mm.
like people has kids. But even if you don't have kids, it is essential. I feel like just for anyone, just to go outside and go for a walk. I don't know, just walk on the grass barefoot, feel you know the grass,
Yes.
and ground yourself. Tell us a little bit about what's some of the best ways to meditate. I know, or tell us first, maybe, what's meditation and what are the different meditation ways or methods that people can use.
Thank you. That's actually a great question. So I think everybody or a lot of people have the concept that meditation is sitting perfectly still with perfect posture, and I can't move and I have to be quiet. And that really dissuades them from trying it.
Mhm.
And there are lots of ways to meditate. Actually, my favorite way to meditate is while I'm walking, because I believe that when we incorporate movement, we can also release some of the things that maybe brought us to meditation. in the first place. So, yes, there is a space for the quiet meditation where we really just tap in and go deep within ourselves, and we do sit quietly, and there is sacred space for that. But I also believe that there is just as much benefit to wiggling and moving during meditation. I believe that guided meditation is a really great way, especially for people that may have that little bit of a monkey mind and it's hard for them to get quiet and it's hard for them to tune out everything that they have to get done today and everything that has to be done this week. A guided meditation is a really great way to your your responsibility is simply to listen and go with the flow of whomever is leading that meditation.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't know that that's even an option. So I think that if you're new to meditation and it's something that you're kind of like, wow, I really think that that would benefit me, guided meditations are always where I steer people because the person leading the meditation will, maybe do a quick breathwork exercise at the beginning or do a little exercise to get you in the present moment, help you get focused, and then you just listen to wherever they take you. Um, a lot of the meditations that I personally do are kind of more of a shamanic journeying where we'll go through a specific sequence of things to get to an end outcome. So that is an option as well for people if that kind of resonates more. Like you're looking for a tool to help you maybe on your spiritual journey, maybe just in life, and you can go on a journey to find that tool. So there's different ways. There's definitely something for everyone. If it resonates with you, it's not the initial thought of just sitting quietly and not moving with your perfect posture.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that have not tried meditation, I think that's the first thing we'll think. We're gonna be sitting on the floor and quiet and just don't move for a little bit, and that's just it's hard. I think
It is hard.
it is hard, and it's kind of like almost very intimidated for anyone that has not meditated to go do that. I do prefer, like yourself, go for a walk. I think it's just such a simple thing, but you're definitely engaging, just, breathing in, walking around, your block. You don't really have to do anything, but you take that moment to be with yourself and really just be
Yes.
in the moment. Another one that I loved, and I think it is. I don't know, but I'm a dancer. So I feel like when I dance, it's like
Mm,
meditation to me because I'm totally
yes.
present. No one else exists within my space except just me and that little moment with that other soul that's dancing with me, or even just by myself. So I think it's just great dancing. And it doesn't have to be, I do it professionally, but I almost feel like just playing your favorite song and you know dance however you like.
Yep.
it's it's all good. I think it really helps. What are some of the things that can be help with meditation when it comes to health wise?
So, what really can help is one, especially if you are kind of a mover and a shaker. Anytime we can move our bodies, we're going to release some of the stress that we're holding. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm a big believer in moving our bodies.
Yes.
And it also helps to integrate things. It's one thing to hear something or it's one thing to see something, but then when you add, the layer of touching it or the layer of smelling it. Or,
Hmm.
once we start layering things, it really helps us integrate into our bodies and into our spirits what it is that we set the intention for at the beginning. And I believe that moving our bodies is one of the biggest ways of integrating anything that we are doing. So if at the beginning, I'm like, gosh, I've had a really hard week at work and I'm just going to turn on my favorite song. I'm going to dance around my living room and I'm going to pick up my dog and I'm going to dance with her. But my intention before that was to release some of that stress from my body, to let that go, to create room for calmness and to create room for creativity or whatever it is that you need or want to get done.
Yeah.
So just setting that intention, a lot of artists say that painting or whatever their medium
Yes.
is meditation. So it was so beautiful that you brought up dancing as your meditation.
Mhm.
Whatever it is that brings you joy, whatever it is that gets you in that flow, when you look up and 2 hours have gone by and it seems like 2 minutes,
Yes.
that's meditation.
Mhm.
So I think, kind of reinventing the way that we look at it and really opening the door to all possibilities will bring a lot more people to the table. Because I remember when I first started meditating, I couldn't do it. So then I didn't want to do it because I thought that I failed.
Mhm.
And it took me 2 or 3 years to even come back to it. And this was just like the sitting quiet meditation. So,
The heart
it's
meditation.
right. So it was like, okay, yep, meditation's not for me. And I didn't realize until later that there were so many more ways to incorporate it into our lives, that makes sense to us. Because what makes sense to you is your joy. What makes sense to me is my joy, and anyone listening, whatever makes sense to you, that is that can be your meditation, that can be your sacred time. And really, that's all meditation
Mhm.
is creating that sacred space and that sacred time for us to just listen to our higher self.
Mhm.
It's the easiest way to tap into our intuition that we all have, that we all possess. It's just, it gets covered up with all the stuff that we do in our daily lives.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. How do you incorporate breathing as you meditate?
So I am a big boxed breath person. So anytime I do any activity, whether it's a class that I'm teaching or a meditation that I'm going to do, a really easy way to bring people to the present moment is asking them to focus on their breath,
Mhm.
because we breathe all the time. And since it's an involuntary thing, we don't focus on it. It's just like
Right.
our heartbeat until we're asked to listen or place our hands on our heart or feel our pulse. Because it's involuntary, we don't pay attention to it.
Mhm.
And a really easy way to bring someone to the present moment to prepare them for whatever it is that they're doing is by boxing your breath. And all that means is you do an inhale, a hold, an exhale, and a hold for a specific number of seconds.
Mm.
So it could be 3 seconds. So on the inhale, it's like inhale, 1, 2, 3, hold, 1, 2, 3, exhale, 1, 2, 3, hold, 1, 2, 3.
Mm.
And if you repeat that a few times, on the third or fourth time, you can start to transition people into, on that inhale, you're breathing in light, you're breathing in calm. As you hold it, you're bringing that into your body. as the exhale, you're releasing any stress and anything that was left, and you can start talking them into the process.
Mhm.
Um, Now, I have friends that do beautiful, like warrior breath and things like that with yoga practices. I am not schooled in that, but the boxed breath really resonated with me.
Yeah, and it's very simple to do too.
Yep.
Like as you were talking, I was doing it, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this feels really good.
Yeah, it's very gentle, it's very mindful, and before you know it, you're like, "Oh, hey, I'm here."
Yes, exactly. And I really believe touching back on guided meditation,
Mhm.
it feels just really good because I feel like I am one of those that you were saying, like the monkey brain. I'm always thinking about, I need to do this, I need to call that, I need to write this, I need to all the time. Like, what am I going to eat
Mhm. Yep.
all day long? And so for me, it works really well too. Just go on YouTube or whatever it is
Yep.
that you go for this. I find it really easy to just find someone online and then guide me to it. And there's um, so many videos, so many tools that we can access now. And this that doesn't have to be like now you're gonna meditate for 30 minutes or an hour or
Right.
whatever. Like I do it for sometimes I find these videos that are like 5 minute morning
Yep.
meditation. And I'm like, that works really great for me because I'm always on the run. I don't have all these hours to just kind of like
Yep.
sit and meditate. So they work really great. And I love that it's so accessible now. Like
Yes.
anyone, anywhere. It doesn't matter the language that you speak or the place where you live. You could just do it, and it
Yes.
helps a lot. I'm a massage therapist too,
Mm.
and so I know breathing uh, and combine the meditation and the breathing helps a lot of people that lives with pain every day.
Yes.
So there's a lot of tools that people can use meditation, breathing, and use it for stress, pain, and other things. What's the one thing that you use it for that you're like, I'm hurting or I'm super stressed and I need to meditate, or when is your body telling you like you kind of like need this to help?
I actually, when I first started meditating, it was more, and it's like when I get a massage, I'm in
Oh.
crisis mode. So I'm that person that I would wait until I'm in crisis and then I'd be like, oh, I need to meditate. Oh, I need a massage.
Mhm.
And over the years, I've learned that it's really easy to incorporate, especially meditation, into different parts of your day. So as I'm getting up from bed, I wake up, I stretch, I'm doing my thing. I just take literally a minute
Mhm.
and I say thank you for waking up. Thank you for the opportunity of another day. Thank you for allowing me to be in service. That's meditation.
Yes.
That's gratitude. It
Mhm.
took 30 seconds before my feet hit the floor. I do the same thing when I go to bed. So I'm not making any extra time. I'm not
Yeah.
carving out anything. In the shower, I do it in the shower. I use the water to wash away anything, and the element of water is very cleansing. It's very clearing. So I'll do a quick meditation in the shower because I'm going to shower anyway.
Mhm.
So I'll do it throughout the day for different reasons. It might be that I want to clear my energy because I'm getting ready to do a session with someone. It
Mhm.
might be that I've noticed, gosh, I must have slept wrong. My shoulder's hurting. So I'm going to kind of get quiet and I'm going to focus on that area and I'm going to tune in and see maybe what that's about. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that the more you practice, it's just like anything, it's a muscle that we need to flex and that we need to work. And
Mm-hmm.
whether it's 30 seconds, like you said, or 2 minutes or an hour that you can actually carve out specifically for it, you can, the benefits of it. I am a firm believer that it helps your body, your mind, and your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially, our minds, we kind of, we can get pulled in a million directions. We can, start, if you're working on something and that imposter monster starts creeping in. And, like Brene Brown says, with the stories that we tell ourselves, it might not be anything like the situation was, but we begin to think of that as our truth. So,
Mm-hmm.
meditation for your mind is like a reset button. You can start all over, you can wipe your slate clean. So, yeah, I really feel that it hits all of the trifecta of body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah, for sure. And how can we incorporate it? I know we talk about uh meditate it in as we're walking, so that connects us
Hmm.
with nature. What's other ways to connect with nature? Because I know connecting with nature is such an important thing for all of us, and we just keep forgetting because we're inside
Yes.
the building, inside our house, inside the mall.
Yes.
And sometimes, I mean, there's people that don't see the daylight. They're always inside.
Yes.
Um, what are some of those ways that you find to get outside and combine these two that are so important for everyone?
That's such a great point, Alex. Thank you for bringing that up. I think, there are varying degrees. So if you live in the country,
Mm-hmm.
you can literally walk out your back door. If you have a yard, you can walk out your back door. Like you mentioned earlier, you can take off your shoes and your socks, step on the earth, get grounded. And that's a really easy way to connect. If you have a tree in your backyard or you have a tree somewhere on your property, but not everybody has that.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be that there's a metro park. Most cities or most places have metro parks that are carved out, that are free for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go to a metro park. They have trails that go through woods. They'll have paved trails for people that, walking may be a little bit more difficult. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to go, through the woods over tree roots, but they can walk on a paved path.
Right.
And metro parks are a great free resource that I think when the whole pandemic started, a lot more people tapped into because we were able to go outside.
Mm-hmm.
When we kind of lost everything else, we were still able to go outside. And a
Yeah.
lot of people were visiting metro parks that they had no idea were in their community. So a quick Google search for metro parks near me will pop up any park that's close to you that you can go to connect with nature.
Mm-hmm.
And, even if that isn't an option, let's say, you are someone that works the night shift. So you're not at home during the evening, you're sleeping most of the day, and you have a couple hours that you do your house stuff and your life stuff, and you really are having a hard time even getting to a park, even getting outside.
Mm-hmm.
You can have plants. You
Yeah.
can have, there are so many trees or that grow in pots now, or you can have little plants.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to bring nature into your environment. That is not going to be super expensive. And you can have a little tiny pot, or you can have a beautiful tree.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are like, oh, I never thought of that.
Yes.
So, just by bringing plants into your environment is going to give you one, it's going to help clear the air because we know that, the plants and the trees take our carbon dioxide and they clean it for us and all of that. So, it's going to make your space feel better scientifically and just because of what they do.
Hmm.
But then you have your little plant and you have someone to talk to. You have someone to sing with. You have someone that you're nurturing and caring for. And, it gives you this beautiful reciprocal relationship of, if it's a blooming plant, then you get flowers. And if it's not, you just get this beautiful little space,
Hmm.
this beautiful little being taking up space. And if you're meditating or you're trying to get quiet, just pull your plant into it. And that can connect you to nature just like that.
I love that. I love plants, and my whole life I've always, every time I've moved to a different apartment or a different house, I always had plants. But I never really thought about just that connection that you mentioned, like, you're always inside. A plant, it's very helpful, and it is. But I really never paid too much attention because I've always had them with me. But
Yeah.
it is a great tip for, as you said, like people work night shifts, that they sleep during the day. But yeah, I mean, that was awesome. That was like
Hey.
drop the mic tip right there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we find all these excuses and we're like, no, I really can't go out, or I don't have time, or I have to
Yep.
work 2 shifts or whatever. But
Yep.
yeah, having plans, it's awesome, and it's as you said, it's not expensive.
Yep.
They're very easy to take care of them, and they clean the air, so that's another
Yeah.
really good point right there, and it makes you happy. So it's like super super
Yeah.
amazing. I know you're a Reiki
Hmm.
practitioner.
Yes.
How do you also combine that meditation and energy work?
So when I am working with people,
Mhm.
I kind of do a meditation before we start our session because I really think that helping them be present, setting the intention during a meditation for the session that we're about to have is a great introduction for people, especially someone that maybe hasn't done Reiki before. And, they're a little nervous and they're like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. Meditation is a it's like the best chapter one that I have found for doing any kind of spiritual work that I do because it really just helps people relax. And when we're relaxed, we're going to be much more open to receiving the energy that's coming through. So I do a quick meditation with every single client before we get started.
That's amazing.
Animals, not so much. But animals aren't as convoluted as people. They're not caught up in all of the things. So it's super easy and quick to connect with an animal. But for people, that meditation really is just like I said, it's the perfect first chapter for every single session. That's a great
Awesome.
question.
I love that. And then talking about animals, because I know um,
Yes.
your book is coming out, and tell us a little
Yay.
bit about that.
So I have always been the person that, you know, always connected to animals. If I was walking in a park, a dog was going to come up to me and it was going to pull and pull and pull until it got over to me. And I'd be like, oh, hello, hello, hello. Once I started doing animal Reiki and kind of getting trained on the energy dynamics of animals, all of a sudden I started kind of getting these little pops of information.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, my hip. And so then I would go back by the hip and I would feel like a little hot spot and I would start working there. So it started like that. And I'm like, wow, I started to pay more attention.
Mhm.
And I started doing research on, like spirit animals and totem animals and the roles that animals have played, especially in indigenous groups,
Mhm.
because it's like we all forgot that. And a lot of indigenous people have not.
Mhm.
It's still part of their culture every day. And it's so beautiful, the medicine that comes from it. So I did a little research on spirit animals and I did a little research on totem and the difference. And what really resonated with me was the messengers.
Mhm.
And I started thinking, I'm like, okay, so perfect example. I was driving, downtown. I live in a small city. So I'm driving and I look over and the truck next to me has a big Fox logo on it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I can't even remember what it was for, but I just remember the logo. And I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool.
Mhm.
Then I go to this, it was like a fundraiser raffle. And I ended up winning a little, it was like a wax melt thing that you put wax in and it heats up and it makes it smell good. And
Mhm.
it was a fox. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay. And then my niece sends me a text and she's like, hey, we want to go to this race and blah, 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 blah. Um, and Fox Motorsports was one of the sponsors.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, so that's three. When an animal shows itself to us, and it took me three or four try, and I'm like, oh, okay, right. Like I got hit with a frying pan, the light bulb went on, and I just Googled what is the spiritual meaning of a fox?
Mhm.
And boom, it laid out exactly what I was going through in that moment.
Mhm.
And I was like, holy crap, like it
Yeah.
really worked. And then that made me kind of dive deeper and I really started paying attention. And I noticed that, animals for me, right before I started to write my book, I
Mhm.
found a black crow feather.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, crows started coming around. And I haven't found one since until just last week. And I'm like, okay, something big is about to happen. So when I start finding crow feathers and crows start coming around, I'm like, I start paying attention because something big is gonna like something's coming. So they're kind of like my little messenger of, hey, pay attention because something's coming.
Mhm.
And so I thought I'm gonna reach out to people and see if anybody else has a story like where an animal has kind of presented itself or supported them. And I was amazed and blown away by the replies that I got. Most commonly, people will see, I live kind of in the Midwest. I'm in Ohio, and we have cardinals that are redbirds.
Mhm.
And there are lots and lots of stories of when a loved one crosses over, people will suddenly start seeing cardinals.
Wow.
And it's like, so there's a tie into, I was thinking about my mom and I was really missing her. And I looked out the window and a cardinal sat there for 25 minutes. It's not
Wow.
normal for a cardinal to sit in a
Yes.
spot for 25 minutes.
Exactly.
Um, so that's what my book is about, is just kind of connecting some of these dots for the messages that I'm like you. I think that we always were connected to nature. We always were connected to trees. We always were connected to animals. It's just that as we evolved and as we got busier and as we got the internet and as we got all of these things,
Mm-hmm.
we forgot.
Yes.
And it's really cool to be able to connect those sacred dots for people again, and help them and celebrate those moments. So that's what my book is about. And it
I love
was,
that.
oh, thank you. It was really, really, I didn't expect to be the keeper of stories. And that was such a gift that I received in gathering those from people because, we don't tell stories anymore. We
Yes.
don't, it used to be sacred, and that has been lost too. It's easier to send a text than it is to call. It's easier to, you know, send someone an email than send them a card. And it's like the stories are part of that. And it was such an honor to listen to the stories and be able to put those in writing, so that they'll last. So that was pretty cool.
That's amazing. I'm looking forward to get
Ah, thank
get my
you.
copy and give that a read. That is so cool. What was one of the stories that really impacted you from the book that you wrote?
So, probably like I was surprised at how many of them like kind of hit me right in the heart. Like
Mm-hmm.
actually made me cry because they were so beautiful, or
Mm-hmm.
because it was something that was very traumatic for someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a girlfriend of mine that I went to high school with and we grew up together. And she lost her teenage son
Mm-hmm.
in an accident a few years back.
Oh.
And I don't have children, so I can't imagine what it's like to lose a child
Mm-hmm.
and to hold that grief and that sorrow and loss on your heart. And when she submitted her story, it was about when they got his ashes back and they wanted to go down to Florida because it was their family vacation spot and it was one of her son's favorite places.
Mm-hmm.
So a few of them went down to Florida, and every time, and they had gone for a couple years. So every time they were down there, they would charter the same boat to go out on a fishing trip.
Mm-hmm.
And when the gentleman heard what had happened, he offered to take them out to spread his ashes because he knew him, he knew the family.
Mm-hmm.
And in her story, she talks about how in all of the years that they had gone down, it was kind of in a harbor, and then they went out around the boats and went out to their little fishing spot.
Mm-hmm.
And on this day in particular, she noticed that there was a dolphin
Mm-hmm.
that was by the boat. And she said, in all the years that they've been doing that, there was never a dolphin in like in where the
Mm-hmm.
boats were parked. And she said that dolphin followed them the whole way out until they stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And then she looked out and there was a whole pod of them.
Wow.
And they were jumping and playing. And she's like, in this very sad, heavy, sacred moment, her son was a jokester. He was the silly one. He was the one,
Yeah.
playing pranks on everyone. And she said, and we look out and these dolphins are flipping and they're, being silly and they're being playful. And she said, I knew that he was with us. I knew that he sent those dolphins to help ease that moment for us. And dolphins are very family oriented. Their medicine, they travel in pods, they stick together
Mm-hmm.
for life. They
Right.
help raise each other's young. And when they were done, the same dolphin escorted them back.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
it was just like, oh, I'm bawling as I'm
Yes.
reading this
I'm
story, and I'm like,
holding my
oh my
tears.
goodness. Right. I'm like, and
What a
the
moment.
the profoundness
Mm-hmm.
of how animals can support us
Mm-hmm.
um really made me just want to shout it from the rooftops, because one, that took so much courage to share,
Yeah,
and there's a vulnerability in sharing that. But how beautiful is it for anybody that gets to read that? And if one person thinks of any time in their life that an animal showed up, or any time in their life that an animal supported them,
mm-hmm.
it's just planting the seed, because then once that seed is planted, we start to pay attention. um,
Exactly.
but that was probably one of the most beautiful stories that I got to be the holder of, and share that with everyone in my book.
That's just amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
for everybody out there, I know they're gonna buy your book because that was awesome. I can't wait to read all the other stories. Um, this has been great. Thank you, Shelley, for all the information. We're looking forward to get your book. If anyone wants to reach out to you, because I know you do Reiki and other
Mhm.
classes and all these other things that are now online. So anywhere, for my audience who are all over the world, where can they reach?
So you can find me. I'm on Facebook. I have a business Facebook page, The Positive Spirit CO. I'm the same on Instagram, and I am 98% finished with my website that will be thepositivespiritco.com. But you
Amazing.
can book through Facebook, you can book through Instagram. Um, those are the easiest ways. And like you said, since we're working with energy, it can be done anywhere in the world. So
I love
thank
that.
you for the opportunity to share that information with everyone listening.
Yes, yes. And all that information is going to be in the show notes for everyone. So you guys all can find Shelly. Also, if you need to find me, you can always find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And also, if you would like to grab a copy of my book, you can go ahead and do that on Amazon. It's called Parents Are Greatest Teachers. It's available on Amazon and also on Barnes and Noble. So you guys can go ahead and do that. Thank you, Shelly, again for being here today, and thank you everyone for listening today. Thank you.
Thank you.